Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David, reborn again in this generation. Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to read about this article, which, let's just get started right now. The title reads, Finland and Sweden take major steps towards joining NATO. The whole security landscape changed with Russian invasion of Ukraine, says leaders at joint press conference. So you see, both of these women here are the leaders of these two nations, Finland and Sweden. So that just shows you that these nations are going completely off, okay? These women have been set up on purpose because of what's going on now, right? I'm sure all of you have probably noticed that around the world, women have been strategically put in a place of power, right? This goes with recently what happened here in America with Ketanji Brown Jackson being appointed to the Supreme Court, right? If these devils would have had their way, they would have elected Hillary Clinton. But what did they do? They got Kamala Harris as vice president instead here in America. Around the world, you had places like Germany that had that little troll, Angela Merkel, that was reigning in Germany. People even said she was like Adolf Hitler's daughter, or secret daughter, or some bullshit like that. But the point being is that with her, Jacinda Andrews, I believe is her last name, from New Zealand, and all these other women who have been placed into power, the thing is that this is the devil trying to stand up against the Lord, right? Because one of the tenets of the Bible is that you are not to put a woman over a man, to hold authority over a man. Well, these two nations, Finland and Sweden, they're standing directly against that, okay? Now, that being said, it's not like as if these two women were going to come up with a war strategy anyways. They're simply going along with what their cabinet and their masters, the bankers, the corporations that own their countries, and the world bankers ultimately want, right? And they're simply pushing forward that agenda. But again, because of that, what you're going to see a lot of figureheads, and a lot of these women are being touted as heroes of some sort. But don't let that fool you, man. These women have nothing to do with this. They're simply just the figureheads, just like Biden and Trudeau and all these other false puppets out here don't really do anything except for obey the orders of their masters. Now, that being said, let's get back to this article. It says, Finland and Sweden took a major step towards joining NATO on Wednesday after their prime ministers said Russia's invasion of Ukraine has changed Europe's whole security landscape and dramatically shaped mindsets in the Nordic countries. The Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin said on Wednesday that her country, which shares 1,300 kilometers, 810-mile border with Russia, would decide whether to apply to join the alliance quite fast in weeks, not months, despite the risk of infuriating Moscow. Russia has repeatedly warned countries against joining NATO and would see any such moves as provocation. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said that if Finland and Sweden entered NATO, Russia would have to rebalance the situation with its own measures. So there you go. So you see, what has happened is prophecy in front of our very eyes. And a lot of people who don't understand the Bible or don't consider it don't even know this, right? This is past right over their heads. But let's go and read the prophecy that speaks of this. This is Matthew 24:7. It's a red letter, which means that the Messiah himself had said this. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Okay, so that's talking about now, right? Well, at least the very beginning part of now, right? Because we haven't necessarily gone into that famine, not worldwide, that is, right? There is going to be famine in certain places, right? Because famine doesn't mean that the whole world is going to starve, right? Famine even tells you in the Bible that the Lord makes it rain on one place and not on another, right? And famines, it's selective places, but there's only a very few places right now that are experiencing famine, and usually it's over in the third world countries where this is happening. But pretty soon, we're going to start seeing famines kick off here in America, around the world, in places that you never thought it would be, right? Right now, in the UK, right now they have a bird flu lockdown, where they're basically killing off a bunch of birds, chickens, and turkeys and whatnot, along with eggs. So people over there are starting to have reduced access to poultry. Now this is going to eventually happen over here in America, because these devils are doing the exact same skit over here, where they're saying that the bird flu is the next biggest pandemic around and all this BS. And they're basically going to take away all your cheap chicken, right? And what you're going to be forced to eat is that wonder meat, okay? That or go vegetarian and stuff. But again, it's up to you how you're going to survive this. But ultimately, with me and the occupant, we're going to rely on the Lord. The Lord's going to provide for us, right? He said, his servants shall eat, right? And again, this is only a small aspect of what is being spoken about here, because besides famine, it says that kingdoms and nations will rise up against each other. So what we're seeing now, where Sweden and Finland are going to join on to NATO, they're rising up against Russia, right? And Russia has made it very plain that if they were to join NATO, that Russia would invade these countries, that they would basically go to war with them, right? It was I think it was 2 weeks ago that Russia flew a bomber or a fighter jet over Sweden's border, which had a nuclear weapon on board. So basically, Russia was kind of showing off and basically threatening Sweden, right? Do you think those threats are going to simply go away? No. The thing is that as the Lord puts it on the spirit of these leaders around the world and their masters, He's going to go ahead and continue to puff all these leaders and kings of Edom, I guess you could call them, because again, that's what the Bible calls them, right? It's the true leaders of the world, these so-called Caucasians, which the true biblical name are Edomites, right? They are the kings of the world, right? And the Lord is putting it on their spirits right now to not back down, to basically continue to raise the escalation towards World War III, right? Because the Lord right now is kindling a fire upon earth. This is Matthew 12:26. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Right? And that's the point. Satan's kingdom is not going to stand. This is the whole point of why the Lord is now bringing these Caucasians against themselves, right? You're having big divisions amongst the so-called white race, right? When it comes to policies, you got war stances, a bunch of different things, right? You have all these different reasons why the Lord now is causing these Edomite nations to now come up against each other instead of being one big conglomerate, one world order, okay? And that's because he's doing this to them. He is setting them against each other, just like it tells you in the scriptures that he will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian. Well, this is what that meant, that he's going to set the Caucasians against the Caucasians, because again, the modern day Caucasians, those would be the modern day Egyptians, the modern day Assyrians, the modern day Babylonians, right? The Bible speaks in similitudes, and it basically, instead of telling us straight out, oh, America is going to attack Sweden, going to attack Russia, and Russia's going to attack Sweden. No, that doesn't happen, right? The Bible was written in code, parables, and allegories, so that way the truth is hidden to the casual reader, right? You have to actually go through the scriptures, and you have to actually break things down to understand what is what, and what is, and who is who in the Bible, and what things are talking about. And one of these prophecies, like I said, is that the Lord is going to pit these devils against themselves, right? And what this is going to bring forth is ultimately what it tells you here, right? That his kingdom is not going to stand. And I'm not just talking about America, Sweden, Russian. I'm talking about all the kingdoms that the Caucasian race hold around the world, right? All these kingdoms that these Edomites hold over the world right now, which gives them world domination, is going to ultimately flounder and be broken down, right? And this is all being done by the will of the Lord. Even though what we're seeing happening is happening by these different nations, this has all been prophesied to come before, right? This is Jeremiah 25, and let's start 32. Thus saith Yahweh Bashim Ashai of hosts, behold, evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. And the slain of Yahweh Bashim Ashai shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. So, like I had said, the Lord is doing all this, right? And this is another prophecy which tells us of how devastating the coming calamities upon the earth are going to be, right? That it's going to be so bad that there's going to basically be dead bodies around the whole world, right? So all the mass killings you're seeing over in Ukraine right now, right? When the Russians are going through and then leaving the towns and killing off all the people, you're going to see that pretty much around the world. You're going to see people rising up against each other, against their government, against their neighbors, and against their family, right? This is simply going to be the way that this whole thing's going to play out, right? Which is why me and the Akim have said, man, if you have a chance, you should remove yourself from these big cities, right? And try to move out to more rural areas, places where there's not going to be a lot of commotion when, as the preppers say, the shit hits the fan. Well, either way, what's going to come is going to come, and what we're reading right here is showing that what's going to come is going to be a mass destruction, right? There's going to be so much death, and that there's not even going to be even enough people, or there's going to be so much death that there's going to not be enough time, or there's not going to be enough people left to where they're going to be able to bury them, right? Everybody's going to be more likely worried about themselves and not wanting to bury some foreigners or some random person that they didn't even know. Okay, this is how things are gonna play out. This is Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So you see, these prophecies that I'm talking about, not only will they come, but they're being done because it is the Lord's will, right? What do we say when we pray to the Lord? Like, thy will be done, right? So this is the Lord's will, is to bring the destruction upon these nations as a recompense for how they treated us, right? The nation of Israel, right? The Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, for our captivity, for the conquering, for the destruction of our people, right? The mass murders and rapes that we have gone through, right? To the constant oppression that we're basically experiencing, right? This is is how the Lord is going to plead with all flesh, right? He's going to bring down destruction, right? Because the thing is that the Lord, as he let the nation of Israel grow into that tree, right? That nice olive tree, right? He had to let these other nations do their thing and go on with their rulerships, right? This is why we always tell everybody, every nation in the world has had a chance to rule, and for the most part has had Israel under a form of captivity one way or another. This way they can all be judged for how they treated us while they had us under their control, and also they had a chance to rule, right? A chance, what is it? Every dog has its day. Well, there you go. Every nation has had its day, okay? And that those days are now numbered, and because the Lord is about to return and establish His kingdom, right? Because that's what heaven is. Heaven is not a place in the air amongst the clouds where you have little naked babies flying with little wings and harps. No, man, that is a fictional creation by these devils. Okay, heaven is going to be a state where the earth is run so perfectly and so righteously that everybody is going to be happy. There's going to be abundance beyond belief. Technology is going to be out of this world, literally, and you're going to have people, the Israelites that being, that are going to rule it along with the Messiah, right? Who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, whose true Hebrew name is Yahweh Shai, right? They're going to rule the world in righteousness, and everybody is going to rejoice, right? Even these other nations, right? After going through their slavery and working to build up our kingdom, they will be permitted to go back to their nations, except for Edom, that is, and they will eventually rejoice in the way that the world is ran, right? Because there's going to be no more wickedness, there's going to be no more unfair rule, right? The laws are going to be simply stated and basically obeyed, right? And then only in stories are we ever going to remember the time when the wicked ruled, and that caused nations to rise up against nations, and there was continual fighting and war, right? How war was considered peace, how everything was upside down, right? That's going to be a story for the fireplace, right? So hopefully this video was edifying, Akim. I just wanted to share some updated news. So until the next time, I want to give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, B'Shem Rakal Kodash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.